You grab a 7-iron, you line it up, you swing as hard as you can, and the ball squirts off low and right. Again, that thin, stinging feeling runs straight up your hands. You blame your grip. You blame your age. You buy a new club. Stop. Because Japan's best iron players almost never swing hard, and they hit it pure nearly every single time. I spent 2 years chasing why, and the answer wasn't a swing at all. It was a hidden system built over 400 years, one that most Western instruction quietly buried, and one you can start using this weekend in your own garage. Stay with me to the end, because there's one drill from a 1962 Japanese practice manual that ties the whole thing together, and almost nobody outside Japan has ever seen it. I remember standing at a 3-story driving range outside Nagoya on a cold morning, watching a man who had to be 75 years old. Slight build, no power, and every iron he hit made the same clean, quiet click, over and over, like a metronome. I couldn't do that on my best day. That sound is what started all of this for me. So let me show you what I found, one piece at a time. The first thing that didn't add up was the pause. I noticed it the very first time I watched Hideki Matsuyama up close. In 2021, he became the first Japanese man to win the Masters, and if you watch his swing, you'll see something almost nobody in the West does. At the very top of his backswing, he stops. Completely. For a fraction of a second, the club just hangs there dead still before it comes down. Now, every coach I'd ever paid told me the swing should be one smooth motion. No stopping. Keep it flowing. So why would the best iron player of his generation freeze at the top on purpose? At first I thought it was just a quirk. One golfer, one habit. But then I started looking, really looking, at the older Japanese players. Isao Aoki, who beat the whole world at the Hawaiian Open in 1983 with the strangest looking swing you ever saw. Jumbo Ozaki, who won more than 100 tournaments in Japan. And that old man at the range in Nagoya. The pause was there in all of them. Not identical, but present. A tiny moment of stillness that the ball seemed to love. That's when I realized I wasn't looking at a quirk. I was looking at a fingerprint, something they'd all been taught, from the same buried source. And here's what that pause actually does, in plain terms. When you rush from backswing to downswing, your hands and your body fight each other. The club gets thrown out of sequence, and you either come over the top and slice, or you flip your wrists and thin it. That fraction of a second of stillness lets your lower body start first, the way it's supposed to, so the club drops into the right path on its own. You're not muscling it. You're letting gravity and sequence do the work. I tried it that afternoon. One tiny pause at the top, and 3 balls out of 5 came off cleaner than anything I'd hit in a year. Not perfect, but something clicked. Here's the thing though, a pause by itself is just a piece. I could feel there was a bigger structure holding it in place, something that told these players when to pause, how long, and what to do with the rest of the swing. The pause was the first clue. It was not the pattern. And to find the pattern, I had to ask a harder question. Why had no one ever taught me this? That question is where things got uncomfortable. Because once I started digging, I found that the pause, and a dozen other little Japanese habits, weren't secrets at all in Japan. They were ordinary, taught to school children, printed in cheap paperback manuals. So why had I, a man who'd spent thousands of dollars on lessons and gear over 30 years, never once heard them? The answer is money. And I don't say that to sound bitter. I say it because the numbers are plain. The Western golf business does not make its living selling you stillness and patience. It makes its living selling you speed, longer drivers, faster shafts, new irons every 2 years that promise 10 more yards. I counted it up once. Between clubs, range balls, and lessons, I'd handed over more than $9,000 across my golfing life, and I still couldn't strike a 7-iron the way that 75-year-old man could. He'd spent almost nothing. His clubs were older than some of my cars. And he was better than me by a mile, because he was working from a completely different idea of what a golf swing even is. In the West, we were taught the swing is an athletic move. Power, speed, force applied to a ball. So the whole industry points you toward getting stronger and buying faster equipment, and every failure sends you back to the store. In Japan, the swing is treated as a form. They have a word for it, kata. It comes straight out of the martial arts and the craft traditions, and it means a set pattern of movement you repeat until it becomes flawless and automatic. A swordsman doesn't swing harder to cut better. He repeats the exact same motion 10,000 times until there is no wasted movement left in it. That is kata, and Japanese golf instruction, from the very beginning, borrowed that idea whole. Think about what that means. When your goal is a perfect repeatable form instead of maximum power, everything flips. You stop chasing distance and start chasing sameness. And sameness, it turns out, is exactly what pure iron striking is. Hitting the same spot on the face, at the same low point, at the same tempo, every time. The pause I saw in Matsuyama, that's part of a kata, a checkpoint inside a repeatable form. It's not a trick he invented. It's a piece of a pattern that goes back centuries, to a way of thinking the golf shops here had every reason to keep quiet about. Because a man chasing a repeatable form doesn't need a new driver every spring. But knowing it's a form still didn't tell me how to build one. I had the philosophy now, I needed the mechanics. And the next piece I found was the one that changed my ball striking more than anything I'd ever been taught. It's a single Japanese idea, and it's almost impossible to translate cleanly into English. The word is ma. Roughly it means the interval. The space between things. The pause that gives everything else its meaning. In Japanese music, ma is the silence between the notes. In Japanese painting, it's the empty space that makes the ink matter. In a Japanese room, it's the emptiness that makes the room feel calm. And in the golf swing, ma is the reason those players strike it so pure, because they don't measure their swing by positions. They measure it by timing, by the intervals between the parts. Here's what I mean, practically. Most of us, when we swing, think about where things should be. Where's my arm? Where's the club? Where are my hips? We collect positions like a checklist, but the Japanese approach thinks about the rhythm connecting those positions, the relationship between how long the backswing takes and how long the downswing takes. And there's a specific number to it. Researchers who studied the swings of top players, including work referenced by tour instructors going back to the 1980s, found that the best, most consistent ball strikers share almost the exact same ratio. Their backswing takes about 3 times as long as their downswing, 3-to-1. Whether the golfer swings fast or slow overall, that ratio stays remarkably steady. It's the tempo of pure contact. Now here's why this matters for you and me. When you feel like you're topping and thinning everything, it's almost never because your positions are wrong. It's because your intervals are wrong. You snatch the club back too fast, or worse, you rush the change of direction, and that 3-to-1 relationship collapses into something more like 1-to-1. When that happens, no amount of good positions can save the strike. The rhythm is broken, so the low point of your swing moves around, and you catch the ground behind the ball or the ball on the way up. The old man in Nagoya wasn't thinking about positions. I'm sure of it now. He was feeling an interval, a slow, patient gather to the top. That tiny pool of stillness, the ma. Then a downswing about 3 times quicker than the backswing. Same rhythm, every ball. That's what made the sound. I started counting in my head. Slow to the top on a count of, say, 1 and 2 and a breath of stillness. Then down on a single count. Back on 3 beats, down on 1. And I want to tell you, the first time I truly felt that ratio instead of just reading about it, the strike changed under my hands. The ball came off the middle. That heavy, pure feeling where you barely feel the hit at all. So now I had 2 pieces fitting together. The kata, the idea of a repeatable form, and the ma, the interval and tempo that form runs on. and I could feel them clicking into place like gears. But I still had a problem. A big one. Everything I'd found so far seemed to require a driving range, hours of free time, and honestly, a trip to Japan to learn it in person. And I knew that's exactly what you might be thinking right now. That this is fine for a tour player or a man who can spend his mornings on a 3-story range in Nagoya, but not for someone with a job, a family, a bad back, and 20 spare minutes at home. So I want to stop right here and talk directly to you, in your real life, with the space and the time you actually have. Because this is the part that surprised me most. The most important training in this entire system was never done on a golf course at all. It was done at home, with almost nothing, and you can start it tonight in your living room or your garage. The Japanese borrowed this too, straight from the sword schools. It's called suburi. It simply means repetitive practice swinging, done slowly and deliberately, with no ball involved. A kendo student swings a wooden sword thousands of times at home to burn the form into the body. Japanese golfers took that idea and made it their own, and it's the quiet engine behind all that pure striking. Here's the beautiful part. You do not need a ball. You do not need a range. You do not need to hit anything. In fact, the whole point is that you don't. When there's a ball in front of you, your instinct is to hit it, and that instinct wrecks your form and your tempo every time. Take the ball away, and you can finally train the pattern itself. So here's exactly what to do this week, at home, with what you already own. And before I give you those swings, let me tell you where the rest of this lives, because what you're getting free in this video is the honest core of it, and I only had room here for the core. I spent those 2 years writing everything down, and I wrote 3 books of my own to hold it. The forgotten Japanese movement principles you can practice in socks in your living room, the miss-by-miss fixes for the slice, the fat one and the top, how the pattern holds up when your back is stiff and the day is long, a 30-day blueprint, and printable cards you can carry to the course. It is the same wisdom, only complete, and nothing in it asks you to buy a club or swing harder. If that's the version you want, scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment, and the collection of books is yours tonight. Now, back to your living room, because none of it costs you anything to begin. Take any of your irons, or even a broom or an old club, whatever won't put a hole in the ceiling. Stand in a clear spot, and make slow, smooth practice swings, but with one rule that changes everything. You count. 3 beats going back. A tiny, deliberate pause at the top. That stillness. That ma. Then 1 beat coming down through where the ball would be. Back on 3, hold, through on 1. Do that 10 times. Slowly. No effort. You are not trying to be strong. You are trying to be identical. Every swing the same shape, the same rhythm, the same little pause. That is kata and ma, trained together, in your own home, for free. Then add the second home drill, the one that fixed my thinning for good. Take a small hand towel, roll it up, and tuck one end under each armpit, so it runs across your chest, and your upper arms pin it in place. Now make those same slow counted swings. If the towel drops, your arms and your body have come apart, which is exactly the flaw that thins and slices the ball. Keep that towel pinned through the whole motion, and your arms and torso learn to turn together, as one connected unit. 10 swings, towel in place, back on 3, pause, through on 1. 5 minutes a day, in your kitchen. No ball, no range, no money. I did this every morning while my coffee brewed, and within 2 weeks the change showed up on the course, without me even trying to make it happen. That's the whole secret of suburi. You don't take the good swing from the range to the house. You build it in the house, and the range just proves it's there. Now I told you all of this was leading somewhere. The pause, the form, the interval, the home repetition. 4 pieces, and I could feel them belonging to one single pattern, but I was missing the thing that held them together. the one instruction that turned 4 separate ideas into a system a beginner could actually follow. And I found it in the last place I expected. It was in an old, water-stained paperback practice manual from 1962, written for ordinary Japanese working men who wanted to learn golf but couldn't afford lessons or much range time. A friend near Osaka found it for me in a stack of second-hand books and had the key passages translated. And when I read it, everything I'd been chasing for 2 years snapped together in a single moment. The manual said something that no Western coach ever told me. It said the golfer must never practice the swing as one long motion. Instead, he must break it into 3 separate stillnesses and learn to stop, completely, at each one, before ever linking them together. 3 checkpoints. 3 moments of frozen stillness you train one at a time until each is perfect, and only then do you connect them with rhythm. Here they are. The first stillness is at the address, before you move at all. Not a nervous, frozen crouch. A settled, balanced, quiet position. Weight even, arms hanging soft, a full breath let out. The manual was blunt about it. A swing that begins from tension can never be pure, because tension is the enemy of the interval. Most of us never even pause here. We walk up and yank the club back. So the first thing you train is the stillness before the storm. The second stillness is the one I'd already spotted in Matsuyama, the top of the backswing. But the manual explained it in a way I'd never heard. It said the top of the backswing is not a position you pass through. It is a place you arrive at and rest, if only for an instant. That instant of rest is what lets the club change direction in the right order, lower body leading, club dropping into the slot. The famous pause. Now I understood it wasn't a quirk at all. It was checkpoint number 2 of a 3-part form that's been taught here for generations. And the third stillness is the one almost nobody in the West trains, and the one that I believe is the true secret of pure Japanese iron striking. It is the finish. The held, balanced, motionless finish after the ball is gone. In the martial arts they call this state zanshin. It means the remaining spirit, or lingering awareness, the composure you hold after the strike is complete. A swordsman doesn't slash and then relax. He holds his form and his focus after the cut, fully balanced, fully aware. And the manual insisted the golfer do exactly the same. After you strike the ball, you must arrive at your finish and hold it, perfectly still, balanced on your front foot, chest to the target, for a slow count of 3, before you allow yourself to relax and look up. Now here's why this is the master key, and why it ties every single piece together. I always thought the finish didn't matter, because the ball is already gone. What difference could it make what I do after impact? But that's backwards, and the old manual proved it to me. Your body cannot arrive at a balanced, still, held finish if the swing that got there was out of control. It's physically impossible. If you lunge, or swing too hard, or lose your tempo, you will stumble, you will fall off balance, and you will not be able to hold that finish for 3 seconds. The held finish is a test that only a pure swing can pass. So the third stillness works its way backward through your whole swing. When your goal becomes holding a perfect balanced finish, your body automatically slows down, keeps its tempo, stays connected, and preserves that 3-to-1 interval, because that is the only kind of swing that can finish in balance. You stop trying to hit the ball. You start trying to arrive, still and composed, on the other side of it. And the pure strike happens on its own, on the way. That was it. That was the whole pattern, and I want to lay it out for you now, complete, the way it finally came together for me on the day I read that translation. Pure iron striking, the Japanese way, is not a powerful athletic move. It is a kata, a repeatable form, built from 3 stillnesses. Stillness at address, stillness at the top, stillness at the finish. And those 3 points are connected by ma, the interval, the tempo, with a backswing about 3 times longer than the downswing, and a held finish counted out for 3 full seconds. You don't build it by hitting balls, you build it with suburi, Slow counted practice swings at home with a towel under your arms, until the form is so automatic that a ball is just something that happens to be in the way of a swing you were going to make perfectly anyway. Every single piece I'd found was in there. The pause was checkpoint 2. The tempo was the ma connecting the checkpoints. The home practice was saburi. The martial art discipline was kata and zanshin. It was never 25 separate tricks. It was one system, wearing many faces, and once you see the system, every individual tip finally makes sense. And let me be very clear about the finish, because it costs you nothing, and it will change your striking faster than anything else in this whole video. Starting on your very next swing, whether at the range or in your living room, give yourself one job above all others. Finish in balance and hold it for 3 seconds. Chest to the target, weight on your front foot. Back heel up off the ground. Hold. 1, 2, 3. If you can't hold it, your swing was too hard or too quick, and the ball told the truth. If you can hold it, I promise you the strike underneath it was cleaner than you expect. I tested this against everything else I'd learned. I went back to that 3-story range, the same kind of place where I'd first heard that clean, quiet click. And I stopped thinking about hitting the ball entirely. Address and settle. Slow to the top, count of 3. A breath of stillness. Down and through. And hold the finish. 1, 2, 3. Over and over, the same form, the same intervals, the same held ending. And there it was. The sound. That soft, heavy click I'd envied in a stranger 2 years earlier, now coming off my own club. Not every time. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's magic, but often enough that I finally understood what that old man had known all along. He wasn't stronger than me. He wasn't more talented. He simply understood that the golf swing was a form to be repeated, not a force to be applied, and he'd spent a lifetime holding 3 quiet stillnesses that the rest of us were never even told existed. That knowledge was never lost, by the way. That's the part that stays with me. It sat in cheap paperback manuals and in the ordinary teaching of ordinary Japanese clubs the whole time. It was preserved by kendo masters and craft teachers and patient old men at driving ranges, handed down through the idea of kata, quietly, for anyone willing to slow down and repeat a form 10,000 times. It was only hidden from us, the ones on the other side of the ocean who were being sold speed and steel and a new reason to open our wallets every spring. The wisdom survived in Japan precisely because the culture there valued the repeatable form over the flashy fix. And now it's yours. You don't need to move to Japan. You don't need to spend another $1. You need a towel, an old club, 5 minutes by your coffee pot, and the patience to hold 3 stillnesses until they become who you are. I think what quietly gets taken from us isn't just the money for the new drivers, though heaven knows that adds up. It's the belief that we could ever be good with the simple clubs and the simple body we already have. That's the thing I want you to take back tonight. If you're the kind of person who's always suspected that the honest answer was simpler than the expensive one, who trusts what you see with your own eyes over what a shiny catalog tells you, then this whole approach is going to feel like coming home. You already knew force wasn't the answer. Now you have the form that is. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to answer this one. Which of the 3 stillnesses do you think you've been skipping the most? The one at address, the one at the top, or the held finish? Be honest with yourself, then tell me down in the comments. I read them, and I answer, and I promise the answer you give will tell you exactly where your next pure strike is hiding. Don't just think it, type it. This audience never speaks up on its own, and I'm asking you directly to be the one who does. And if you want to keep recovering the practical, honest wisdom that the modern selling machine buried, come along with the rest of us who are digging it back up, one forgotten method at a time. Subscribe and stay close, because next I'm opening up the old Japanese secret of the wrists, a single hinge movement from the sword schools that quietly adds distance to your irons without a grain more effort, and it hides inside that very same pause at the top. I found where it's written down. I'll show you next. You came here to strike your irons pure. Now you know the ones who do it best were never swinging harder than you. They were simply standing more still. Go find your 3 stillnesses and listen for that quiet click. It's been waiting for you the whole time. Before you go, let me tell you where this goes next. This video was just the overview. Inside the Quiet Wisdom Circle, I continue it in full. You can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. And you won't be alone. You'll belong here. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime. Come join me. Now, striking pure on the range is one thing, but doing it out on the course is another. In the next video, I'll show you why that happens and how to finally fix it. It's starting right here.